I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Well, we've made our pilgrimage to Bitcoin Holy Land, El Salvador. We're in El Zonte, better known as Bitcoin Beach. I'm just reading the latest episode of Bitcoin Magazine, which is dedicated to El Salvador. Yes, I have a column in here called Overdose. Stacy, what's happening?
Hey, well, it is amazing to be here in El Salvador. We're in El Zonte. We are gringos, which means we started filming at like noon. So it's like 130 degrees. All the locals are hiding away from the sun. We are out here blistering hot, filming like crazy people. But, you know, we've had an amazing journey from the airport. Arrival at the airport was quite interesting because we saw like Bitcoiners were being welcomed with open arms by the entire state. We were tweeted at by the president, tweeted at by the ambassador to the United States from El Salvador. So there is a massive greeting. This is Bitcoin week that we've been enduring here through the heat.
Right, it's hot, and so is Bitcoin. And the country is really ready to go full Bitcoin HyperBitcoinization, joining other countries around the world. The president has made Bitcoin legal tender. People are using Bitcoin to buy a coffee in San Salvador, and it's making a huge impact on the population and the spirit of the people. It matches the spirit of the people. I talk to a lot of folks and they ask, what is the defining characteristic of El Salvador? It's always about the people. They're so open-hearted, they're so generous, and Bitcoin really matches that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin became big here so soon, is because it matches a spirit of humans to be open. They want to trade, they want to form communities, and this is perfect fertile soil for Bitcoin to grow.
Right, and just so you know, behind us, this is the surf you hear. This is Bitcoin Beach. It's El Zonte in El Salvador. This is where the hyper-Bitcoinization started in El Salvador. It was surfers coming here from around the world, which brought Bitcoin here, Bitcoin to the attention of the locals. And they are the ones that led to this, essentially the Bitcoin becoming legal tender here. They're essentially the people who are responsible for that. So that's where we are sitting right now, the beautiful surf behind us.
Right, well, surfers are at complete one with nature. In order to surf, you need to completely throw away any pride you might have in beating the wave. You need to go with the wave. And the people who are becoming Bitcoin millionaires and billionaires are allowing Bitcoin to take them forward and to not impose their ego onto Bitcoin. Remember, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. This is why so many academics like the Paul Krugmans and the Nouriel Rubinis, they don't get it because their egos prevent them from enjoying the ride. This is why a lot of industrialists and hedge fund managers are resistant. Like Ray Dalio, a big hedge fund guy, he still doesn't understand Bitcoin because his ego prevents him, like a cyst on his brain. He can't see past it. And but he will. All will capitulate to Bitcoin because the humility is so great here, and because the connection to nature is so beautiful here. They got it, and they're riding the Bitcoin wave, and now they're set to become a big player in this region.
And of course, just like Bitcoin, the waves come non-stop. It never stops. The wave comes, a new block is mined, a new block is mined every 10 minutes. And the other thing that's been so fascinating is that Max and I have always been talking about that Bitcoin would lead to a Renaissance 2.0. And you see that here. The amazing thing over the past week of being here in El Salvador is that we see on Bitcoin Twitter, hashtag Bitcoin Week, we see like mind-blowing big names in Bitcoin who are like the core devs, the ones that actually like keep Bitcoin stable and solid and secure. And they're out there at a little bodega on the side of the road, helping these people access, figure out how to accept Lightning payments and Bitcoin payments. So I'm sure most of these people, the shopkeepers, have no idea who's actually helping them set up their point of sale. It's just amazing to watch it and go, whoa!
Yeah, I saw the president, Bukele, tweeting about this being Bitcoin week in El Salvador. Is this the new Woodstock? I thought it was an interesting tweet because, of course, Woodstock was a celebration of peace, love, and understanding in the 60s, and a way to stop war. The 60s generation did effectively stop the Vietnam War. But unfortunately, within a few years, it became corporatized. And the leaders of the 60s movement were sucked in by Wall Street and Madison Avenue, and the movement died. With Bitcoin, it is the Woodstock Forever movement, because nobody can co-opt it. No corporation can take control of it. We saw that during the fork wars of 2017. They tried to take it over. They failed. We have Taproot that just passed effortlessly. No pushback whatsoever. So this is really the beginning of a movement of peace, love, and understanding that cannot be stopped. This is really the age of Aquarius that cannot be stopped. And once, as many have said, you understand that the price can only go up. It only goes up because all of that fiat money of approximately $400 trillion worth and derivatives associated with it will all be converted into Bitcoin until such time as we achieve the Bitcoin singularity. We are one with Satoshi, and then we are a much different species at that point, but it's happening very quickly.
Right, and just to confirm, Keiser Report and Espanol is massive here. We were driving up along the coast, arrive in this town, little town, dirt roads, by the side of the road. We're in a little tiny bit of traffic near the beach, and somebody from the side of the road, just selling some fruits and vegetables says, "Is that Max Keiser?" Yay! And he was like, "I have Bitcoin."
Yeah, it's fantastic. Keiser Report on Espanol is very big in El Salvador, as it is in Mexico, all over Latin America and the Spanish-speaking world. It's the #1 business show in the world, in English or Spanish. So this is why the Bitcoin meme has been able to get so far so fast. It's through the magic of media. And it was great to just meet up with people, and we all have Bitcoin in common, and we're all on this voyage together. I love what you were saying about the waves coming and crashing and nothing stops them. These are the blocks, the Bitcoin blocks, just coming, tick-tock, new block, like the waves. Nothing can stop it. It's a force of nature. Just ride the wave.
Yeah, and when I mentioned Renaissance 2.0, the thing about Florence in the Renaissance, what happened with the Renaissance is they had Medici and the florin, and the hard money and the perfect money drew in the greatest minds of the world, of discovery, of art, of architecture, of culture, and all these great minds came there. And so like I said, when I was reading Bitcoin Twitter and just saw like shocking names here in El Salvador helping out the people, ordinary people who could not possibly know who was actually helping them, it just felt like, yes, this is what is going to happen with HyperBitcoinization.
Well, Bitcoin has its roots in the open source software movement and the free open source software movement. And the people who have been involved in that, going back to Linus Torvald and Linux and other open source projects, Richard Stallman, the free software movement, we interviewed him many years ago. They are all about altruism and putting in a little to make the network great. And this is what made the network as great as it is. And you see it on the ground here in El Salvador. The core devs and the high-end tech folks that have arrived here in El Salvador this week are actually going into shops, opening up the back end of tinkering, getting things, upgrading stuff, because that's the ideology of open source, that my time, if I put it into the network, makes my life a lot better.
Yeah, and it increases the value of the network. You're a Bitcoin holder, you're a Bitcoin core dev, you're going to go in there and increase the value of the network by helping out people access the network. Bitcoin, the treasury here in El Salvador, they have 1,120 reported Bitcoin. That's worth over $70 million. That's obviously increased significantly since they bought it, and the president, Nayib Bukele, was buying the dip and mocking the IMF on Twitter, which was very Bitcoin-like of him. So, he's already a Bitcoiner. He's already a hardcore Bitcoin maximalist.
Yeah, well, talk about nature. The country, under the leadership of President Bukele, is going to be tapping into volcano energy, which is virtually free, to mine Bitcoin, to increase that hoard from 1,000 Bitcoin to 10,000, 20,000. Who knows where it's going? But it's going to be the richest country in Latin America pretty soon. This is going to attract the attention of other countries, and the global hash war, the global game theory kicks in. Ukraine is looking at Bitcoin, of course. This will attract the attention of Russia, and that'll attract the attention of the United States. And before you know it, you have a new space race, but it's going to be the hash race and who can accumulate the most Bitcoin wins. And it's inevitable, and number go up, and we're living through it right now. Thank you, Satoshi.
In the second half, you're going to be interviewing Carlino from Ibex Mercado, who is from Guatemala, very close neighboring country. And so you're going to talk about the impact in the neighboring countries, because of course, once one country hyper-Bitcoinizes, obviously your neighbors are going to look at that and become a little bit envious and say, hey, we should be doing this. But in terms of what Bitcoin has allowed here, not only have the greatest minds in Bitcoin actually arrived to help the merchants and the economy of El Salvador, but you also see, you know, the program that Bukele, according to locals that I've been talking to, is, you know, he wants to keep the population here, because the greatest assets any nation state has is its people. You don't want to have your people flee the country. Something like 20-30% of Salvadorans live in America. You want those best minds, the hardest workers here in this country. So education is important, and he's used, El Salvador President Nayib Bukele says he will use some of his country's Bitcoin profits to build 20 schools. El Salvador will use a few $1 million of its Bitcoin profits to build 20 schools, President Nayib Bukele said last Tuesday. The president spoke at an event where he laid the first stone of a Bitcoin-funded veterinary hospital. El Salvador recently bought another 420 Bitcoin to bring its total holdings to 1,120.
Right, well, people, that's the key, Stacy. It's all about people. And in the second half, I'll be speaking with Carlino. He is a rising star in Bitcoin Guatemala, and we hope to be going there soon enough and take the message with us, as we always do. We met him first at Bitcoin Miami 2021, which was a spectacular event, getting ready for Bitcoin 22, which will also be in Miami. So all popping off. Don't go away, much more coming your way. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. I'm going to get into my interview with Carlino in just a moment, but first, some scenery. Local El Zonte, surfing capital of El Salvador, going completely Bitcoin mad. They love the Keiser Report in Espanol. Watch. Alrighty, well, here we are in El Zonte, getting ready for the big event tonight. We're going to be selling these posters, and proceeds go to Daughters of the Sea, a group here in El Zonte that is all about surfing. We've got a very special guest, Australia. How long have you been surfing?
¿Cuánto tiempo has surfeado?
3 años.
3 years. And you surf here in El Zonte?
¿Surfeas aquí en el Zonte, aquí donde haces surf?
Sí, aquí vivo.
Have you ever seen a mermaid?
No.
No? No mermaid.
Una sirena.
No.
Okay. Well, so this is obviously attracts visitors from all over the world. Have you traveled to surf another place?
Solo Guatemala.
Have you ever seen the YouTube video from Portugal of surfing on 100, 200-foot waves?
Sí.
Are you going to do that someday? Really?
Sí.
That's incredible. How many people are in Daughters of the Ocean?
¿Cuántas niñas pertenecen?
Hay como 5 niñas.
5 or 10 girls.
Oh, 5 or 10? Okay. And you also are into Bitcoin, correct?
Sí, poco.
A little, yes.
A little. Do you think that is Bitcoin becoming popular?
Sí, algo.
Little by little.
Little by little.
Yeah.
And when you surf, what is your favorite move?
Como maniobra.
Tu maniobra, sí.
Ah, el florer.
¿Cómo?
Florer.
Floret. That's the name.
It looks very easy to surf. I'm sure I could do it, right?
Sí. Si lo practicas.
If you practice enough, you can.
You said earlier that you saw a grandmother. You said somebody asked you if I could surf, and you said, "Oh, I just saw a grandmother surf."
Sí.
Oh, okay. I feel much better now. Right, well, apparently I can surf like an old grandmother. Oh, that sounds great. Don't forget to check out the event, and proceeds go to Daughters of the Sea. Catch you next time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I sure did. Things getting better and better. Hey, let's get into our interview with Carlino from Ibex Mercado. Carlino, welcome back.
Pleasure to be here, Max.
Right, we saw you at Bitcoin 2021 9 months ago. Since that time, Nayib Bukele made Bitcoin legal tender right here in El Salvador. You're right next door in Guatemala. Has this changed what's happening in Guatemala?
So it makes it impossible to ignore. Everyone in the region is much more aware of what's going on, and they're letting El Salvador be the experiment that they will undoubtedly follow.
Right, how does the Guatemalan press covering this?
Not so much. They try to ignore it whenever they can, but slowly but surely, Bitcoin makes its way. So not as much as we'd hope, but I'm sure more in 2022.
You know, here in El Salvador, I come in contact with what a lot of people have noticed about people who live in El Salvador, and that they're very open, they're very communicative, they're very friendly. And I think that this really goes with the Bitcoin ideology that is open, it's open source, and it fosters community, it fosters friendship. Is that a fair characterization?
Of El Salvador, I believe it's a fair characterization of most people in Central America. We are hard workers, and we really will put better money to very good use.
Right, and of course, we've got the learning curve of folks here in El Salvador and around the world. You know, you've got to get through the process of learning how to use wallets, et cetera, like that. How is that going toward hyper-Bitcoinization? Do you feel like, where are we at in the cycle?
We need help. We need more people here to educate Salvadorians and Central Americans generally about how Bitcoin works. The folks that have come to El Salvador so far, they are received with open arms. I think we're a very curious and entrepreneurial culture, but there's 5 to 6 million people in this country, and it takes a while. You know, everyone needs to remember how their own orange pill journey was, and at least for me, I know it took a while, and I had help along the way, and that's what really could help us a lot right now.
Right, so speaking of the technology here, of course, they have the Chivo wallet. So your thoughts, explain what it is and your thoughts and what you've seen so far.
So the Chivo wallet is, I think, a miracle of a government putting together a lot of services in an incredibly short amount of time. And as those that work in technology know, it's very difficult to pull together good software, let alone in 3 months' time. So there's some issues, particularly around merchants and how to pay at businesses that we've seen. But from the remittance aspect and cashing out at the ATMs, the experience is by far and away 100 times better than what they get with the traditional banking sector. And so where we're trying to focus our efforts is in reducing the learning curve and the difficulty for merchants to be able to adopt Bitcoin.
Right now, 20% of Salvadorians live outside of El Salvador, particularly in the United States. That brings up the remittance market, which is a big percentage of GDP of this country. And the prediction was that we're going to start to see that money flow back into El Salvador. But using Bitcoin, their transaction costs are zero compared to other competing services like Western Union and others. Are we seeing that?
So it's starting to grow. Of course, the Chivo $30 gift from the Salvadorian government, I believe, made a great impact in allowing people to play with the technology and to find out how to send remittance via Bitcoin. So we are starting to see growth. Where I am not sure what's happening in the United States is how do we do more work as Bitcoiners to make it easier for a migrant worker to turn cash in the United States into Bitcoin and send it for no fees.
Right, and to be clear, a question that pops up a lot has to do with custodianship of the Bitcoin. With the Chivo wallet, you can take it off the Chivo and put it onto your self-custodied wallet and have complete control over your Bitcoin, correct?
I believe so, and so the more people understand how to be their own custodians, the better, and that only happens with education and with Salvadorians, getting help from other Bitcoiners.
Right, so Carlino, I'm sure the rest of the region noticed when President Bukele trolled the IMF and was telling them that he was buying the dip. That is to say, getting some Bitcoin cheap on the balance sheet. And of course, the IMF has been a big player in the region with their very aggressive loans over the years as part of what the hitman, economic hitman, John Perkins described as American colonialism in the region. Is this a direct slap in the face to the IMF and all the American would-be colonialists?
Well, I think it definitely raises the stakes and makes their whoever has those kinds of objectives a lot harder to achieve. Bitcoin is the best competitor, the apex predator on the block. So putting them against the ropes to have to innovate finally is very interesting. And I look forward to see what they come up with.
Very diplomatic over there at Ibex. So the inflation is a big problem, and it's ravaging the world at the moment, and everyone's very confused. Where did this inflation come from? Because it's been hidden for so many years by various tricks by the central planners and the central bankers, but they can't hide it anymore. Bitcoin is the answer to inflation. Is that going to drive adoption?
I believe so. I think they can't keep the genie in the bottle anymore. And the news recently, I think, is painfully obvious for everyday folk, noticing that they can't afford to pay their bills.
The mainstream media in America is going on mainstream outlets and trying to tell people that inflation is actually good. Is that your experience here in Central and Latin America?
I don't think so. I prefer my money going farther, you know, and for the impacts of technology having deflation to reach more and more people instead of just those at the top.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Ibex, your company. How does it differ from other exchanges? And what's happening over there?
Sure. So we're no longer just a broker. We're not an exchange. We're a Bitcoin-only broker offering services to Guatemalans and eventually the rest of the region. But now in El Salvador, when we heard the call here from just listening to people what their concerns were with the Bitcoin law, primarily from business owners and just merchants trying to see how are they going to be compliant with the law, we developed Ibex Pay. Ibex Pay is a payment processing technology that allows you to receive payments via Lightning, register an on-chain address, and get Bitcoin deposited to your on-chain address, while empowering everyone that works for you to have it on any cell phone or tablet or computer in your business. So as an owner, you no longer have to be there present to receive the Bitcoin from the folks trying to pay, but actually you can put a payment processor on everyone's screen and have anyone showing up to pay in Bitcoin receive that Bitcoin and have that deposited at in your Bitcoin address every day, right? So trying to make the experience as seamless as possible to what people here are used to with, for example, Visa. When, like Bukele said, when a European spends euros with Visa, the business is accepting euros, but they're actually receiving dollars, right? So how do we achieve that same experience that people already know and are comfortable with Bitcoin? And that's what we've offered with Ibex Pay, allowing folks to avoid volatility if they want, but empowering Bitcoiners everywhere to be able to receive payments via Lightning and have them deposited into their on-chain address.
Right, we all saw the video with Jack Mallers doing a Lightning payment from America, Chicago to Europe instantaneously in dollars that arrives in euros, right? So it takes all the Forex out of it. And the reason why people go through all this to make a payment and to save in Bitcoin is because it's completely outside of all other systems. There's no government in the middle. There's no corporation in the middle, per se, and it's uncensorable. So no one can stop these transactions from taking place, which is very important today because in the US dollar, which is world reserve currency, the America has taken on a lot of censorship and a lot of, they're preventing commerce from taking place from various countries because they've weaponized the US dollar. With Bitcoin, how many more months before the US dollar goes dead? It goes belly up. In your opinion, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the choices are A, 3 months, B, 6 months, C, 1 year, or D, depending on how you look at it, it's already dead.
depending on how you look at it, I think it's already dead. Bitcoin is the apex predator for those of us that have had the opportunity to go through that orange pill experience. And I do think that we need to make it easier for people. There's a lot of tools out there for individuals to take control of their financial future. Now it's up to entrepreneurs to make it easier for corporations and small-time businesses, mom and pop shops that want to adopt Bitcoin. So if we start building those tools, then maybe it is 3 months or 6 months, but we need better tools and we need more education.
It is hard, but anything worth having is hard.
For sure. That's
like love.
and Bitcoin.
All right, thanks for being on Keiser Report.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacy Herbert. I want to thank our special guest, Carlino from Guatemala. Until next time, bye, y'all.